everywhere I go, I find leaders, managers, and supervisors are just not doing enough leading, managing, and supervising. And there are 8 consequences of undermanagement. So tune in, because this is the business case. And if you don't recognize these consequences, then we can wrap up early because I got nothing for you. Right? But here are the 8 costs of undermanagement. Fires get started that never should have started in the first place. They should have been avoided. Problems that should have been solved easily get out of control. Resources are not well enough planned, so they're squandered and have to be recouped and replenished. People do their basic tasks, responsibilities, and projects not according to established best practices. And so what happens is, often they're doing their tasks, responsibilities, and projects not according to best practices for a long time without anybody even realizing it. And this is the #1 cause of rework. Low performers hide out and collect paychecks. Mediocre performers start walking around thinking, hey, I'm one of the high performers. Right? High performers get frustrated and think about leaving. And leaders and managers end up doing tasks, responsibilities, and projects that should have been delegated to someone else. Or maybe they were delegated to someone else, but they just come back to you half done or done wrong, and you have to do it yourself. Right? So if those 8 consequences sound familiar, then I have something to offer you. Because our research shows, and this is based on more than 500,000 respondents from 400 organizations over a 24-year period. Tens of thousands of them have been going on for more than 10 years. They're longitudinal interviews. And what our research shows is that 9 out of 10 times, those 8 consequences can be avoided or solved relatively quickly when leaders, managers, and supervisors roll up their sleeves and provide a lot more high-structure, high-substance guidance, direction, support, and coaching. When leaders are hands-off and disengaged, when leaders don't provide high-structure, high-substance communication every step of the way, problems occur that didn't have to occur, problems get out of control that should have been solved easily. Resources are squandered, people go in the wrong direction for days, weeks, or months on end before anybody notices. Low performers hide out and collect paychecks. Mediocre performers mistake themselves for high performers. High performers get frustrated and think about leaving. And leaders do tasks that should have been delegated to someone else. You don't have time not to do this. But I'll tell you what our research shows. The leaders who are most convinced that they don't have enough time to lead, manage, and supervise spend more time leading, managing, and supervising than anyone else. They just spend all of their management time in crisis mode, solving problems that never should have happened in the first place. Right? In firefighting. And let me tell you what our research shows, that the #1 time consumer of management communication, right? The #1 time consumer of management communication is firefighting. Firefighting. The problem is firefighting is highly inefficient. Right? By the time you're fighting the fire, it's too late. Right? You got to put out the fire, you got to salvage the wreckage, you got to get everything back to where it was before anything went wrong. And then you really don't have time. Do y'all remember Smokey the Bear? Some of you, maybe, I know there were some folks from outside the U.S., and there are some younger people here. If you don't know who Smokey the Bear was, there used to be a forest ranger who was a bear. And he was famous for saying it's a whole lot easier to prevent a forest fire than it is to put one out. He was a very smart bear. And Smokey had a point. Right? And one way to think about this is to get out of firefighting mode, you've got to put your time into fire prevention. High structure, high substance, guidance, direction, support, and coaching. That is how you point people in the right direction every step of the way. You make the best decisions. You make sure people are following standard operating procedures. You make sure if there's too much to do in a given day, that you help them figure out what should come first and what should go on the back burner if something needs to go on the back burner. Right? You hold people accountable. You differentiate and reward people when they go the extra mile. One way to think about this is it's not more time. It's shifting your time from firefighting to fire prevention. And that's why the #1 step back to the fundamentals, when we teach leaders to practice the fundamentals. The number one step back to basics is get in the habit of managing people every day.